Hello, I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. Each week, we address issues of timely and timeless concern with newsmakers and the journalists who report on them, with artists, scientists, educators, social scientists, and government leaders. We meet each one to one. I'm delighted to welcome the Reverend Dr. Mariah Ann Britton, CEO and founder of the Moriah Institute, a nonprofit organization dedicated to nurturing teenagers spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually. We'll discuss the programs she and her staff have designed, which not only help these young people, but also the adults who guide them. Welcome.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's a pleasure to be here today.
You and I met through Riverside Church some years ago, which is where I first heard about the Rites of Passage program. Did the Moriah Institute grow out of that? And what's the Institute's mission?
Well, certainly my early experiences with Rites of Passage began with my work at the Riverside Church, where I served as the Minister for Youth and Young Adults. And as my sense of mission progressed and I left Riverside in 2005, one of my main concerns was the continued need for comprehensive learning experiences for adolescents to help them navigate the murky waters between adolescence and young adulthood. And so that I wanted to expand that sense of mission and developed the Rites of Passage program as it exists with the Moriah Institute. Rites of Passage has a long history within many nations across the world in being able to provide meaningful transitional experiences for adolescents and for adults too at different points of passage to help them to make that particular transition. And so our Rites of Passage program, we provide learning experiences generally about 7-month period time, and providing experiences with living skills, independent living skills, looking into family life, looking into careers, looking into a variety of concerns that inevitably young people have to face as they make that transition into young adulthood.
Did you find that there was something lacking? I mean, there are all kinds of programs for teenagers and a lot of religious group-connected programs. Did you find that there was something lacking in some of those programs that you wanted to put in?
Absolutely. What I felt was that there were two things that were important. One, a real sense of making a connection between that generational gap that has often been spoken about, and being able to provide meaningful experiences for adolescents with adults to help them to see, first of all, that adults are not their enemy, that we welcome them, and also the fact that we celebrate their entry into young adulthood. So I found that there were a few places that provided the experiences beyond the typical, academic enrichment and also specifically career-oriented. Our program is really concerned about helping young people to navigate the inner self, to engage in questions and conversation and experiences that help them to really begin to kind of figure out who they are internally beyond the traditional pieces around a career. A lot of their work is focused on career, academically. But what kind of human being are you going to be? What kind of person? What do you really want to contribute in the world? What kind of imprint do you want to make?
Explain the name, the Moriah Institute.
Yes, it's Moriah, by the way, M-O-R-I-A-H, and it has its origins in two places. One, it is to celebrate my grandmother, whose name was Moriah as well, but also taken from the biblical reference to Mount Moriah in the Old Testament, where there was a testing of Abraham in reference to his faithfulness to God. It is the place where Abraham was tested in his sacrifice to Isaac, in which the hand of the Lord, withdrew that possibility for him, and then the nations were blessed through Abraham's faithfulness. And it is a sense of understanding that each of us has our mountain, our place, our sense of crossroads, if you will. And in fact, the Rites of Passage program is mirrored with the sense of the Yoruba Orida, which means crosswords. And so we recognize that young people are at a crossroads in their life. And there are places that they have to explore that mountain, if you will, that place where they will then really determine the turnaround in their life and what it is that they will contribute to the world.
Now, do you still operate out of Riverside Church? Is that?
No, we do not. We have no official ties with Riverside Church. We are housed at the Memorial Baptist Church in Central Harlem on West 115th Street. We are not, I need to say, we are not a religious program as such. We are not using the Bible to teach principles. We are certainly guided by the teachings of Jesus Christ in his approach to understanding humanity, but it is not a religious program as such. We are delighted that we are at Memorial Baptist Church. They're providing the space for us, and we have reached out to other organizations to provide collaboration because we think that's important as well. So we are no longer affiliated with the Riverside Church.
Okay. Now that's interesting that you said, you know, you don't use the Bible necessarily to guide your program, because, you know, I've been in youth programs, you know, that were connected to the church. And it seemed to me sometimes the religious connection sort of held back those programs because there was a lot of religious dogma, very sort of judgmental, as opposed to really trying to go with the flow of what the teenagers needed. I mean, do you agree?
Well, our rationale for not being religious-based in the traditional sense has to do with the fact that we are open to all young people, and we've had young people over time, some who are not affiliated with any church at all, some who are not necessarily interested in formal or traditional religion. We've also had young people who come out of different religious faith backgrounds. So our idea,
not necessarily Christian.
Right, exactly. So our idea is to be able to be open to all young people as such. And also I think it's important for other religious organizations to know that we feel it's important that you teach what you believe your young people should learn. And so that we don't want to get into differences of theological differences or ideological differences, so that we are open to welcoming young people of all different faiths.
Tell me about how you're funded. Is it privately funded, private and public?
We have a variety of sources that we are trying to work with. We've received funds from various foundations here in the city and across the United States. We've received some government grants. We also receive a significant amount of resources from individuals who wish to fund our program. So it is that you know, that pie chart of different sources in which we seek funding for the program.
Have you felt any impact from the economic downturn?
Oh, absolutely. We are struggling just like everyone else is. Many of the foundations, their budgets have been cut drastically, and they have to make, you know, choices about which programs they will fund. So absolutely, we're in that crunch as well.
Now, you're both a minister and a PhD,
yes,
correct?
I am.
What's your PhD in?
I have a specialization in family, marriage, and human sexuality. I graduated from New York University, and my focus really in the PhD work was on seminarians and sexuality, looking at how seminarians are prepared to work with parishioners on matters related to human sexuality. And that is the second part of what the Moriah Institute does in working with faith-based institutions around learning experiences for faith-based leaders.
Okay, and we'll come back to that. But first I want to talk about the first part of your program, Rites of Passage.
Right.
Tell me about the program. I mean, who's in it, how many people, how long it lasts, what you do in it?
Our Rites of Passage program it begins in November right now, and it ends in May. We meet on a weekly basis. We meet on Saturdays, usually from 1 to about 3:30. We have some overnight experiences as well, which we focus on intensely on a particular topic. And we also do a retreat, career trip. Young people have also community service that they need to do as well. And so we're guided with about 15 adult volunteers. We also are fortunate to be able to have some adolescents who went through Rites of Passage who have come back as peer leaders, and I think you're going to meet one of them shortly.
And how many students at any particular time usually?
Our goal is really to be able to have 25 young people in the program. We're small, and so we would want to duplicate that model in other places where they have smaller groups, because we believe that the intimacy provides a greater sense of of family, and also provides a greater opportunity or likelihood that young people will be able to feel comfortable enough to talk, to open up, to explore different issues and concerns.
And how do they come to you, and do they have to apply?
Well, we do a variety of things. We do advertisement on our website, which is www.themoriahinstituteny.org. We also do invitations to individuals who have been invited either through our young people or through our mentors. We also do flyers that we put out throughout various parts of the city. And we try to find relationships with other organizations that have youth and would like to expand their offerings for youth.
Now, I was on your website, and I was looking at some of the photographs, and I saw what looked like probably the community service. You were fixing up a park, painting some park benches.
Absolutely.
And in another photograph, it looked like you were having a kind of outward bound experience.
Exactly.
Sort of boot camp kind of thing, physical challenges.
Exactly. That was on our retreat, and we think that physical challenges are an important part of the learning experience because it takes young people a little bit beyond or outside of their traditional activities and work, and it also builds teamwork. We are absolutely guided by the example of the work with New York Outward Bound. In fact, they work with us quite a bit in the early stages of our development. But we do that work now pretty much through our own mentors right now. And that particular instance, we were at a retreat at the Clearpool Center in Carmel, New York.
Okay. What are the main issues, or some of the main issues, that teenagers that you find that they care about, think about, want to talk about?
Well, one of the things that I found that young people want to talk about most often in our Rites of Passage program is what's happening in the world and how they can relate to that in regards to their next steps in life. They are concerned about the economic situation, believe it or not, in regards to what they will be able to do as they pursue careers. They're concerned about the safety in their communities. Many of them live in communities where there's concern around crime and drug use. They're concerned about safety. They're concerned about the quality of their education. They're concerned about many things that we are. They're concerned about fashion. They're concerned about their mates, who, you know, their girlfriends and boyfriends and their relationships. So they're concerned about many of the things that we as adults are concerned about. Their conversations in many ways have been pretty much focused around with their peers. But now in terms of being able to engage with adults, it provides, I think, a meaningful exchange.
We're going to take a short break. Then I'll be back with more with Dr. Mariah Ann Britton of the Moriah Institute after the following message.
This can't be happening. This can't be happening.
Of course it's not happening. Armored car. Listen, having money isn't about luck. Make your own coffee, save $1,000 a year. Feed me. Feed the pig.
Welcome back to One to One. I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York, and I'm talking with the Reverend Dr. Mariah Ann Britton of the Moriah Institute. Joining us is Jolle Thomas, one of the young people in the program. Welcome.
Thank you.
Jolle, you are a senior at Cardinal Spellman High School in the Bronx. You're, what, 17?
Yes, 17.
Tell me how you came to Rites of Passage.
Well, I think from what I heard, my sister was in the program when she was younger, and she invited me when I came of age, so yeah.
What was it that she told you about it that appealed to you?
Just everything. She said, you know, I know you're shy because I was shy in the beginning and I still have those tendencies now, but she says, you know, you'll like it, you'll meet new people, it'll be a great experience, so I was looking forward to that.
What were you looking for? Had you been in other programs for young people at your church or community?
Besides Sunday school, no. So
Besides
Sunday school, yeah, that was it.
what were you looking for? What did you hope to get out of it?
Grow a little bit, come out of my shell. So yeah, that was it.
And you've been in it for 3 years.
Yes.
What has the experience been like for you?
Life-changing. Once I went through the program, it just opened so many doors because I had more confidence in myself. So I was able to run for various offices in my school and
Did you win?
Some I won some, lost some, but that's like everything. So it was good. It was really good.
Were there any activities in particular activities that you especially felt you got a lot out of?
The CPR. That was my favorite.
Because that is one,
Yeah.
you learn how to administer CPR.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was good. It was really, really good.
Uh-huh.
So just it was fun. It was hard work because I was trying to blow air into the dummy and it just wasn't working at first. But once I got the hang of it, it was really so exciting.
What do you think, as I said, I was in my youth fellowship at my church many, many years ago now. What do you think teenagers need from these kinds of programs? If you were advising ministers at other churches or people who run programs for teenagers at other organizations, what would you tell them to do? What would you advise them to do?
Well, they should definitely have more programs like this because it was like I said, for myself, it was really life-changing, and just knowing that I had the support of all the mentors and the other peer leaders and even the people that I was going through the program with was really helpful. So that was really good.
Have you formed strong friendships with people in the program?
Yes, and now that I go to Riverside Church, some of the people in the program went to Riverside Church also. So it's just like, hey, I have people to talk to and associate with.
So the program not only brought you to the program, it also brought you to Riverside Church. Okay. Mariah, what do you think is, as we said, there are all kinds of programs to meet the needs of young people, to help young people. How do you think, is this one different?
I believe we are different. One of the key pieces to the Rites of Passage program is that we believe that young people have within themselves the ability to make the choice. So much of their experiences with adults is that they are being told what to do. They're being given a curriculum. They're being given a particular script that they have to follow. Rites of Passage is really about it culminates with them making the decision to make the step into young adulthood. We don't make the decision. The presumption is all along that we will give them a grade and they will pass on into young adulthood. That is not what we do. We certainly do provide learning experiences and help them to raise question about their contribution to the world, but they ultimately make the decision. And we've had young people who said, no, I'm not ready yet. And that also is a valuable consciousness-raising experience for adolescents. Because once they make the decision, then they have to own up to it. They have to be honest within themselves about what steps they're going to make. And we found parents who've told us often that they can see the difference in their young person and how they're contributing at home, the efforts that they're making in school, their sense of the issues that are plaguing the world, and also their ability to begin to analyze and to articulate and to choose to be involved in the world. So it really is the difference with our program is that it's not the adults to make the decision. They make the decision to pass to make the step into young adulthood.
I would think that when you're working with teenagers and when you're working with them over a period of time, 3 years, for instance, that, sometimes you have to step in and do some kind of crisis management.
We do have that from occasion.
Tell me.
We've had occasion over the years where there are young people who've had difficulty with the law. We've had young people who have had difficulty with their parents. We've had young people who've had difficulty around anger issues, always, involved in fights. And so that in those instances, we as a community of mentors come together, first of all, try to identify either resources within ourselves, or we make referrals for young people who may have acute issues that we certainly cannot handle.
Right.
And we try to mentor, be more closely, knit more closely together in helping that young person to move along. Our young people, you know, they have many different kinds of experiences in life, and perhaps that's where the Rites of Passage program becomes more important, because it helps them to really begin to analyze for themselves their input into whatever the crisis was, and also to help them to begin to navigate out of it honestly, not to avoid it, but to navigate honestly out of it. So we do have a significant amount of crisis intervention over the course of our program years.
Now, you mentioned your staff. Tell me, who are your staff and how many are there, and what's their training? We have primarily adult volunteers who work with us.
We do mentor training and intensive mentor training that we do that asks them to look at some of the issues around youth development, ask them to look at their own experiences when they were adolescents themselves, try to look at also what their gifts are and how they arrived at their decision to be involved in whatever field it is that they're involved in. And so that our mentors come from a variety of places, some through word of mouth, through our website as well. And we also have referrals. Like this past week, we had a young man who came in as a result of one of our mentors saying, you know, hey, we have this mentoring program, and what are you doing? You know, but he also, it was a level of synchronicity, because he also at that time was trying to think what he could also contribute to the world. So he came in, sat in with us, and we look forward to down the road inviting that young man to come on board and as be a mentor. We are also blessed with several young adult mentors who went through Rites of Passage 10 years ago, who have come back and who are leaders. Jolle's sister Danielle is one of them, who came back as an adult mentor. And we have Jason Armstrong and Brandy Lilly. And so we have young adults who've gone through Rites of Passage and who are now mentors.
Now, you were talking about, you know, some of the issues that teenagers care about, you know, the economy, its impact on them, and perhaps their future careers. You know, you do the CPR, which you seem to have enjoyed. You know, when I look back on my high school years and the programs that we were in, I think what we probably wanted to talk about more than anything else was sexuality and relationships, which sort of got shut down in the context of the church. How much is that a part of the program, and how helpful is that on the things that you are concerned about? I'll start with you, Jolle.
Okay. Well, we do have a sexuality overnight, so that's really good, where we get to sit down and talk. And there was one part where we got to write down the questions that we had, or that we wanted to ask somebody, and we read it out loud and just discussed it, and just we were told what was truth and from the myth and stuff like that. So that was really helpful. Right. So
and it was an overnight.
Yes.
Where did you stay?
We stayed at Memorial Baptist Church.
Okay. Okay.
So that was really good. And it was good that it was an overnight, because we got to sleep on it and then come back in the morning and discuss more and stuff like that. So it was really good.
Okay. Mariah, you want to comment on that?
Yes, we do sexuality intensive, as Jolle mentioned, and I think it's one of the most important issues that are facing young people today, particularly with all the perils surrounding human sexuality and sexual activity. And our goal is really to be able to confront some of the issues, some of the more perilous issues. We do an intentional piece on HIV/AIDS prevention. We also do a piece on looking at the body, the functions of the body, because a lot of people don't have language for understanding their human sexuality and their sexual response system. And we also do a piece around dating, issues, because lately we're having a lot of really terrible experiences that young people are experiencing around dating.
Oh, really?
So we have those three prongs to the sexuality intensive, and we do it overnight. But I think also it's important to recognize, Sheryl, that issues around human sexuality are not just limited to one workshop, but it is in our total
right.
attitude and response and exchange that we have, not only with adolescents, but with each other. And so that being able to provide learning experiences that are conscious of that,
right.
and also that young people can speak freely, they can ask whatever questions they want, whether social, biological, religious, spiritual, we're open
right.
to all of that. And I think my training in human sexuality, because I've been doing this work now probably for about 15 years.
Right. And the other part of the Moriah Institute, which is the Sexuality and Spirituality Education Program, is designed to help adults who might be involved in administering to, you know, the religious community or to teenagers, help them to do this sexuality piece better?
Absolutely. We work with seminaries in providing courses, full courses or course intensives around human sexuality and ministry. We also work with denominational groups in providing work, learning experiences for clergy. And we also collaborate with other organizations, let's say, that do HIV/AIDS prevention and sexual health issues.
Okay. And Jolle, you're a senior, you're
yes.
hearing from colleges, getting ready to go off to college next year, and I'm sure you'll take a lot of lessons from Rites of Passage with you.
Yes, definitely.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
And keep us posted.
I will.
Okay. We're out of time, but I want to thank the Reverend Dr. Mariah Ann Britton, CEO and founder, and Jolle Thomas, peer leader of the Moriah Institute, for joining me. For the City University of New York and 1 to 1, I'm Sheryl McCarthy.